Welcome in, everybody. We're diving deep today into the world of mobile workforces. And we're really lucky to have some incredible insights to guide us, all thanks to Connect Inc. They've been supporting mobile workforces and infrastructure for over 30 years. So we're tapping into some serious expertise here. And we're going to explore the challenges faced by folks who rely on technology to do their jobs outside a traditional office setting. So think manufacturing, logistics, retail, healthcare, all those industries where being mobile is essential. And we're going to look at how transforming IT service operations can improve the mobile worker experience and how that actually boosts business outcomes. It's fascinating how everything's connected. But to kick things off, I want to share a pretty surprising statistic with you. Less than 10% of mobile workflow interruptions are actually reported. That's a crazy low number. Okay, so let's break this down a bit. First off, when we say mobile worker, who exactly are we talking about here?
We're talking about anybody whose job really depends on using mobile devices to, get their work done. These are the people who rely on their tech working perfectly no matter where they are.
So yeah, not your typical desk job where you can just walk over to IT when something breaks. So what happens when their tech does act up out there in the real world?
Well, that's where we run into what we call the triage gap. Imagine trying to diagnose a car problem over the phone, but the person on the other end doesn't really know anything about cars. We're going to get a lot of vague descriptions and not a lot of useful information to actually work with.
Sounds frustrating for both sides. And I bet that's a big part of why the white paper says less than 10% of mobile workflow interruptions ever even get reported. Why aren't people speaking up?
Well, for mobile workers, time is money, literally. They're often focused on speed and efficiency, so stopping what they're doing to report every little glitch, it feels like a huge disruption. Plus, in a lot of cases, they've already figured out workarounds just to keep things moving.
Yeah, those workarounds, they might seem like a quick fix at the time, but I bet they're probably masking a much bigger issue.
Exactly. Relying on workarounds doesn't just impact individual productivity. It also messes with the data that IT needs to make smart decisions about, what technologies to invest in. It becomes this vicious cycle of inefficiency and bad decision making.
So we've got this communication gap, people aren't reporting problems, and IT is basically left in the dark. What does that mean for the business as a whole then?
It can hit the bottom line in a big way. Think about things like increased labor costs because of all those inefficiencies, reduced customer satisfaction because of delays or errors, and even missed opportunities for innovation because you're so busy putting out fires.
So it's not just an IT problem, it's a business problem. So what can companies do to bridge this triage gap and finally get a handle on these mobile issues?
The white paper lays out 4 key requirements for optimizing the mobile worker experience. First, we got to give workers easy on-device ways to report problems digitally. No more scribbling notes or trying to hunt down a manager.
Got it. So make it as easy as possible for them to flag an issue. What else?
We need to capture more detail about what's happening. Not just my phone is glitching, but specifics about the device, the app, the network, everything that led up to the issue. It's like giving IT a digital trail of breadcrumbs to follow.
Makes sense. What are the other 2 requirements?
Automated notifications are key. The system should be able to automatically route the problem to the right IT team or vendor so it gets addressed quickly and efficiently. And finally, continuous monitoring and data analysis are crucial. By tracking things like device performance, app usage, and user feedback over time, we can start to identify patterns, predict potential problems, and make data-driven decisions about what technologies to invest in.
So it's not just about fixing individual problems, it's about using data to proactively stop those problems from happening in the first place and making smarter decisions overall.
Exactly. And this is where things get really interesting for people like CIOs who need to justify those technology investments.
Let's talk about that. How does all of this affect the bottom line, and how do you convince someone like a CIO that this is worth investing in?
Well, when you can show a CIO hard data that proves these technologies are actually valuable, things like less downtime, fewer support tickets, happier workers, then it's a lot easier to get them on board. They can see a direct link between a good mobile worker experience and a healthier bottom line.
Right. It's all about speaking their language, the language of ROI. Makes sense that a CIO would be more likely to invest in something if they can see a clear, positive impact on the company's financials. So what kind of data can really drive that point home?
Well, think about something like cutting down on device downtime. Less downtime means more productive workers, which means greater efficiency and, potentially even higher revenue.
Yeah, that's a pretty clear connection to the bottom line. What else?
A drop in support ticket volume is another big one. If fewer workers are running into problems and needing to contact IT, it means things are running more smoothly and the support process is more efficient.
Right, and that efficiency saves the company money. Any other metrics that really stand out?
Improved first call resolution rates are a key indicator. If IT can fix the problem on that first contact, it means they're diagnosing problems accurately and efficiently, which saves everyone time and frustration.
Yeah, makes sense. And when IT is running smoothly, it frees them up to focus on more strategic initiatives. What about the impact on the mobile workers themselves, though? How do we measure that?
You can look at things like worker satisfaction scores. When workers feel like their concerns are heard and their technology is reliable, their morale and job satisfaction goes up. And happier workers tend to be more productive workers.
It's a win-win for both the company and the employees, but at the end of the day, all comes down to the customer experience, right?
Absolutely. Higher customer satisfaction rating are the ultimate proof that optimizing the mobile worker experience is actually paying off. When mobile workers have the right tools and support, they can provide better service, which leads to happy and more loyal customers.
It's like a ripple effect, starting with the mobile worker and extending all the way to the customer. This white paper also talks about having a clear blueprint to guide this whole process. What would that look like?
A good blueprint should start by clearly defining your mobile workforce. What roles do they play? What are their specific needs? And what are the challenges they face? It's about recognizing that not all mobile workers are the same.
So tailor your approach to each specific group. What comes next?
Then you need to figure out where your IT support currently stands. The infrastructure, the processes, the tools. Where are the gaps? What's working and what's not?
It's like taking inventory before you go shopping, right? Figure out what you've got and what you need to buy. What's the next step?
Next, you need to set some clear goals. What are you trying to achieve? Do you want to reduce device downtime, improve support, ticket resolution rates, increase worker satisfaction? Make it specific and measurable.
Okay, so set some clear targets that everyone can work towards. Then what?
Then it's time to pick the right technologies and tools to help you reach those goals.
Right, not just jumping on the latest tech bandwagon, but really thinking about what's going to work best. What else is part of this blueprint?
Implementation is key, of course. Make sure those new technologies and processes are rolled out smoothly and that everyone is properly trained. And then, of course, you need to constantly monitor and evaluate the results, track those key metrics, and make adjustments as needed.
Right, it's an ongoing process, not a one-time fix. So we've talked about the technology side of things, but what about the human element? How can companies create a culture that really supports their mobile workforce?
That's where leadership comes in. Leaders need to make it crystal clear that optimizing the mobile worker experience is a top priority. They need to empower their IT teams and give them the resources and authority they need to make changes.
So it's more than just talk. It's about actually taking action. What else can leaders do?
They need to create a culture of open communication where mobile workers feel comfortable giving feedback and making suggestions. It's about creating a sense of partnership where everyone is working together to improve things.
Sounds like building that culture of trust and collaboration is essential. Now, I'm sure there are some challenges companies might run into along the way. What are some of the common roadblocks?
Resistance to change is always a big one. People get used to doing things a certain way, even if it's not the best way. It takes clear communication and strong leadership to overcome that and get everyone on board with a new approach.
So being upfront about the benefits and addressing people's concerns directly. What other challenges might pop up?
Sometimes it comes down to budget and resources. These new technologies and initiatives can be expensive, so you need to have a strong business case to present.
Right, again, it goes back to proving that ROI, showing how these investments are going to benefit the company's bottom line. Any other potential roadblocks to be aware of?
Sometimes companies just don't have the expertise in-house to implement these changes effectively. In those cases, it might make sense to bring in outside help or partner with vendors who have specialized knowledge.
So knowing your limitations and not being afraid to ask for help when you need it. This has been really insightful, but I want to shift gears a bit and look ahead. What other trends are shaping the future of the mobile worker experience?
Cloud computing and mobile device management, MDM solutions, are becoming more and more advanced, allowing companies to manage and support devices remotely and making sure they're always updated and secure. And then there's the rise of wearables and IoT devices that are specifically designed to make the mobile worker experience better.
It's really amazing how technology is transforming the way we work.
The mobile worker experience isn't just an IT issue anymore. It's crucial to the success of the whole business. By investing in the right technologies, processes, and culture, companies can create a mobile workforce that is not only productive, but also truly empowered.
So it's all about recognizing how valuable your mobile workforce is and giving them the support they need to really thrive. What a powerful message. They really show you how much potential there is when companies put their mobile teams first. It's not just about giving them the latest and greatest gadgets. It's about creating a whole support system that helps them be successful. Can you talk a bit more about how companies can actually use data to make the mobile worker experience better?
Data is essential. It gives you the insights to really understand what your mobile workforce is going through, where the problems are, and what's working well. Companies need to track everything from how well their devices are performing and how apps are being used to worker feedback and how quickly support tickets are being resolved.
So it's like getting a complete 360-degree view of the situation using data to see the whole picture. How can companies actually use that data to make changes? What are some real-world examples?
Let's say you're noticing a lot of downtime with a particular model. The data might show that this is mostly happening in certain locations, or when the used in a specific way. That could mean there's a hardware problem, a network issue, or even a need for more training. With that data, you can make a much better decision about what to do, like maybe replacing the devices, improving network coverage, or giving extra training to people in those areas.
So data helps you find the root of the problem instead of just treating the symptoms. What about using data to understand how apps are being used?
Data on app usage can tell you a lot. It can show you which apps are absolutely essential for your mobile workforce and which ones are barely being touched. That can help you focus your support efforts, use your resources wisely, and even make better decisions about app development or licensing. You might discover that a certain app is causing a lot of frustration for workers and leading to a ton of support tickets. That's a clear sign that something needs to change, whether it's finding a better app, making improvements to the current one, or providing better training on how to use it.
Data helps companies get ahead of those issues and make smarter choices. What about using worker feedback in this data-driven approach?
Worker feedback is incredibly valuable. It gives you firsthand insights into the challenges and frustrations your mobile teams are facing. Make it easy for them to share their feedback, maybe through in-app surveys, special feedback channels, or even just regular conversations with their managers. And this is crucial. Make sure you're actually doing something with that feedback. Show workers that you're taking the input seriously and making changes based on what they tell you.
It's about closing the loop and showing workers that you're listening and that their opinions matter. Are there any specific tools or technologies that can help companies gather and analyze all this data?
Definitely. There are tons of mobile analytics platforms and MDM solutions that can help you pull together and make sense of data from different sources, devices, apps, user feedback, and support systems.
But what about the hardware, the devices themselves?
Right, so that's where mobile hardware and device managed services like Stay Live by DecisionPoint Technologies, can really make a difference. You combine those real-time insights with proactive device management. And companies can move away from that break-fix approach to a more preventative model.
So we're talking about a whole new mindset. It's not about just fixing problems. It's about stopping those problems from happening in the first place.
Okay.
I like that. So it could be used to make real changes. We've talked a lot about the tech side of things, but ultimately this is about people. How can companies create a mobile work environment that's not just efficient, but also really supportive and empowering?
That's a great point. Technology should never be implemented without thinking about the people involved. Companies need to build a culture where mobile workers feel appreciated, respected, and supported. That means giving them the tools and resources they need, offering opportunities for training and professional development, and creating an environment where they feel safe speaking up and sharing their thoughts.
So it's about investing in your employees and building a culture where they can succeed. What are some practical steps companies can take to create that kind of environment?
Start by setting up clear communication channels, both from the top down and from the bottom up. Make sure workers know how to contact their managers, IT support, and other important teams. Encourage them to give feedback, whether it's good or bad. And be sure to actually listen to that feedback and respond to it. Show them that their voices are being heard.
So create a two-way conversation, a constant back and forth of communication and feedback. What about professional development?
Investing in training is essential. Make sure your mobile workforce has the skills and knowledge to stay ahead of the game. This could involve training on new technologies, best practices for mobile security, or even soft skills like communication and problem solving.
It's about empowering them to keep learning and growing, both professionally and personally. This has been a really insightful conversation, but before we go, I want to leave our listeners with some key things to remember. What are the most important things for companies to keep in mind when it comes to making the mobile worker experience the best it can be?
I think the most important things are embrace a data-driven approach, collect data, analyze it, and use it to make smart decisions about technology processes and support. Remember the human element, create a culture where mobile workers feel valued, respected, and supported, and focus on continuous improvement. This isn't a one-time fix. Constantly monitor, evaluate, and adjust your approach based on the data and feedback you're gathering.
Those are some really great points to remember. It's about taking a holistic approach, thinking about the needs of both the company and the workers, and using data to drive positive change. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise on this important topic.
It was a pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We hope you found this episode helpful. Remember, by empowering your mobile workforce, you're not only improving their experience, you're also unlocking their full potential and helping your business succeed. Until next time, keep diving deep.